What's going on, everyone? Jeremy here from the recording. An absolute awesome story for you today. Anytime 94-year-old Taylor Lorenz gets dunked on the internet, it's a good day. I like to report on it. I think Taylor Lorenz is an evil woman. I think that her sole job is to ruin other people's lives. I think her job as a 87-and-a-half-year-old woman parading around like she knows what's up and hip and she knows what all the TikTok kids are up to is cringe and a massive self own. She's a liar. She's well connected. She's censorious. And she is a problem in the journalism world. So I have zero sympathy for her when people dunk on her or when she gets, proper because her entire career, whether it was at the New York Times or the Washington Post or any of these places, has been to ruin people's lives, to write long pieces about how they're the worst thing to ever grace the internet and dox them and frighten them and scare them. We saw her do it with libs of TikTok, and now she's essentially been roasted into oblivion, which is like a side note benefit of this. I want to talk about her hilarious hot take that's everybody is dunking on the internet right now, but also like a good kind of like a good news thing. Like this post has 200 likes, 288 likes. If you scroll her Twitter account, it's a complete wasteland. She has been ignored by the entirety of the internet, and she has now finally obtained authentic lolcow status. That means nobody talks about anything that she does that's productive. It's only news when she's being a goof, when she's getting goofed on. So here's a post. By the way, she calls herself disabled too now. That's a new thing she started doing. But uh, there's several threads that she put out that just absolutely demolish. You see Wayne kind of I kind of can't get over the fact that Taylor Lorenz, the typical thinks the typical middle schooler has the exact same concerns as a neurotic, Twitter-addled 40-year-old media personality. You see, like, well, I mean, these are all tweets that went, get thousands and thousands of likes. You see, Lorenz is kind of like an over-the-top caricature of a certain kind of millennial archetype, the affluent, educated, hyper online media worker who has overlearned the quote, the personal is the political to such an extent her politics are basically entirely an expression of her own personal neuroses. I mean, if you looked, Taylor Lorenz has been trending all day, and it's because of this hilarious hot take. Here, now, this did get 10,000 likes, which is impressive until take a look at the fact that we can't respond to it. Nobody can respond to it. Only people she follows or mentions can reply because every time she tweets, there's a deluge of people making fun of her. Now, people are like, why are kids so depressed? It must be their phones. But never mention the fact that we're living in a late stage capitalist hellscape during an ongoing deadly pandemic. What? Nobody thinks nobody agrees with that take. With record wealth inequality, zero social safety net, job security as climate change cooks the world. By the way, this is a woman that was born into extreme wealth, has never gone hungry, has never gone without a life of luxury at every possible turn her entire life. She was born into a multimillionaire family. She's never actually had to work to pay for a dang thing, and she used all her family's connections to get where she got. Now, if you look at her uncle or whatever it was, or some family member owns the internet wayback machine and she abuses her family connections to scrub all of her old tweets out of the archives. So let's take a look at this tweet first of all. Do you know why kids are so depressed? It's because she's saying, well, kids must be worried about the capitalism. That's what's upsetting kids. Not around my neighborhood. Kids are outside playing in the snow. They're having, fun. They're enjoying their lives. The only kids that live with like doom and gloom are ones whose parents are like you, who are still making them wear masks outside when they want to play with their friends. I see it. I see kids alone outside wearing masks. These kids have like been damaged so deeply by people like Taylor Lorenz. That's the thing. Taylor Lorenz is why a lot of these kids are that way. TikTok, all these social media sites, they're why kids are that way. If the parents kept these kids off social media, they would never be happier. It has never been a better time to be a kid ever in this, at least in this country, right? It has never been a better time to be alive, really, for anybody than it is right now. And the idea that she's, by the way, this is somebody who's like terminally online, right? And who's, she said not to be a doomer, but you have to be delusional to look at life in our country right now and have any amount of hope or optimism. What? I think I have tons of optimism. It's because I don't surround myself with neurotic, entitled brats who live, a life of luxury and are constantly acting like they're the victims. I mean, this is one of the dumbest hot takes I've ever seen in my life, from one of the most privileged individuals on the planet. It is hilarious to me. She continues, all the people yelling that capitalism is, because she was getting quote tweeted to death basically, all the people yelling that capitalism is actually going great and everyone in the US should be cheerful and happy. If you're so content with your life, then why would you do on here getting all worked up, huh? I mean, no. You look at all the social media, the bullying that's going on with kids, over the internet. It's never been worse. The social media stuff. Kids are getting hyper adult content. All their everyone that Taylor Lorenz says you should look up to, or people like Taylor Lorenz says you should look up to, is a garbage human who makes kids feel bad about themselves, who get girls to start interacting with boys earlier than they're supposed to, or than they're ready to, because that girl on TikTok says that it's time. All this stuff, parents letting their iPads raise their kids, going to school, and instead of writing out stuff, kids got laptops so they can be on social media and all this stuff all day long. This stuff is not good for anybody, including me. Like I like I've tried multiple times. I admit that I'm addicted. I use that I have to have work, for work as an excuse, but I don't really feel awesome about social media almost ever. It's like every time I tweet something, there's like one random idiot that's like, "Oh, hey, you're fat," or "Hey, man, I see you took this picture of a delicious drink you're having on vacation, but weren't you supposed to be losing weight?" Like, there's always somebody who does that. Like unsolicited comments. Like, side note, it's really dumb, cringe, and annoying when people do that. It's like unsolicited comments about my weight, just as an example. It's like they're like concern trolling, or I don't know if they're just like completely oblivious to it, but it's like, bro, that I know that I need to get healthier. You commenting on a completely unrelated Twitter post about that is not helping me. You're actually just an a-hole. Like, I don't even understand. So it's like, even me, a 40-year-old man, sees like, God, there's just, like, oh, here's a picture of my dog. Oh, cool, cool. Awesome dog, man. But I noticed there's a Red Bull can behind your dog. I thought you were cutting carbs. Like, that happens every day. It's like, if kids put down the phone and they don't have to like consume that, yeah, they're going to be a lot better off. And you see somebody says to her, I'm interested to know exactly when in history, per Taylor, it would have been better to be a young person than it is right now, especially for girls and the LGBT community. Oh my God, I love it. She then says, no hate to this OP, but since people keep saying this, literally nowhere did I say I wanted to go back in time. Yeah, but you said that this country's in a hellscape and it's all negative and you know everything's really bad. You can think we're living in a late stage capitalist hellscape and worry about global warming without wanting to go back to when women didn't have credit cards or vote. No, you really can't. You're 40 years old and you only talk about negative stuff. Your entire life is built around being negative and saying the world's ending. Sure, she says, me, things are bad. We're living through through a pandemic. For her, it's never going to end, by the way. Facing climate change, it feels impossible to be hopeful about the future. People on Twitter, oh, so you want to go back to time when That's your people, Taylor, by the way. The only people that can reply to this post are Taylor's own followers. So she's getting dunked on by her own followers. I mean, are you new here? Of course, people on Twitter are terrible. That's proving their point, Taylor. Like, if kids weren't on Twitter, TikTok, and whatever Snapchat and stuff all the time, they could be, playing sports, doing something fulfilling, having a hobby. I'm not like trying to be a prude, but it's just true. I don't see social media as like a net positive really for anyone. And like in the best case scenarios, it's like 51-49 net positive. If it ever teeters like a little bit more the other way, it's like I'm out. Like yes, it was important to build my brand, but now it's like, well, mental health kind of matters. And when you have it on their phones, like they can't get away from it. I see these kids, like I've got family members, 15, 16-year-old kids, and they're like on their phone constantly all the time on TikTok, Snapchat, this, that, or other thing. And it's like I'm sure they're not consuming all, content that makes them feel great about themselves because I've seen the content out there. I hope you enjoyed this video. I'm absolutely loving that Taylor Lorenz's career is essentially over. No one cares about what she has to say anymore, and that's the way it should be. We'll talk to you again real soon.